Get out from here. You don't belong in my operating room. The words sliced through the sterile air like a scalpel dropped with anger, echoing sharply against the tiled walls. Dr. Victor Hall, a well-known but notoriously arrogant surgeon, didn't bother lowering his voice. He stood rigid, arms folded across his chest as he glared at the young black nurse standing near the instrument tray. His tone held the same precision and coldness as the surgical tools he prized, a deliberate insult disguised as authority. The OR staff froze. A circulating nurse gasped quietly. An anesthesiologist pretended to check a chart to avoid catching anyone's eyes. Yet the target of the attack, Nurse Maya Grant, remained still, her face a blend of shock and disappointment, though her posture exuded a quiet power she didn't bother expressing. Victor continued, as if fueled by the silence around him. You're slowing my team down. You're inexperienced. And frankly, I don't need people like you trying to prove something in my room. His gaze flicked up and down her body, heavy with prejudice he didn't even hide. Leave. Immediately. Maya didn't move at first. She blinked once, slowly, as if letting the words settle not into memory, but into a place where they could never touch her. She wasn't surprised. Discrimination wasn't new. Not in society. Not in medicine. Not even in the gleaming halls of Rivercrest Medical Center, a place that prided itself on diversity posters while tolerating attitudes like Victor's behind closed doors. Her hands were steady as she set down the tray. Her voice, calm and level, held no anger yet somehow carried more weight than his shouting. As you wish, Dr. Hall. She turned to leave, but not before meeting the eyes of the silent staff. Some looked apologetic, others ashamed. Victor smirked, satisfied, believing he had asserted dominance. But the anesthesiologist, Dr. Jorvad, watched Maya leave with an expression Victor didn't recognize, respect mixed with fear for what would come next. Because Maya wasn't just another nurse. She wasn't temporary. And she wasn't someone who could be dismissed like a trainee. The hospital's biggest secret, one Victor had somehow never bothered learning, walked calmly out of the OR while the man who insulted her unknowingly set fire to his own reputation. But for now, in that room, Victor believed he had won a battle he never understood was beneath her. What he didn't know was that Maya had returned to Rivercrest after 3 years abroad, recruited specifically to fix the failing surgical department. Her name was already printed on the executive office door. Her qualifications exceeded his by miles. Her accomplishments filled textbooks he barely skimmed. Her influence extended across continents. And her position, though not publicly announced until noon that day, was the highest in the surgical building. But Maya didn't reveal any of that. Not yet. She walked out with the same dignity she entered with, holding her composure not for herself, but for the lesson the arrogant surgeon was about to learn. The moment the door swung shut behind her, Victor muttered, loud enough for everyone to hear. Finally. These nurses think they can just walk in and act like they're special. The room remained tense, but no one dared to correct him. They didn't have to. Maya Grant would handle it herself. Outside the OR, Maya walked calmly down the hallway, her footsteps unhurried, her breathing controlled. She wasn't humiliated, she was disappointed. Not because of Victor's insults, but because his behavior represented a deeper sickness in the institution she was now responsible for curing. She stopped near the window overlooking the hospital courtyard. Beyond the glass, sunlight streamed through winter clouds, softening her expression for the first time since she left the OR. She had expected resistance when she took this job. Rivercrest needed change, and change always met arrogance. But she hadn't expected the first blow to come before her first official meeting. Still, she was not the type to crumble. She was the type to correct. And corrections were coming. As she made her way toward the administrative wing, staff members paused, some whispering her name with shock. They had heard rumors she was returning, but no one expected her that morning. Her previous work at Rivercrest was legendary. She'd led trauma teams through impossible cases, pioneered programs that saved hundreds of lives, and mentored countless young surgeons and nurses who still called her the calm before the storm. When she left for a global fellowship, The entire department had slipped into disorganization. Now she was back, handpicked by the board to rebuild what had crumbled. She reached the executive suite, badge unlocking the frosted glass doors. Inside awaited the office that would soon become her command center. The plaque was still covered with a white cloth. She pulled it off slowly. Chief of Surgery, Dr. Maya Grant, RN, MD, PhD. She didn't smile, but her eyes softened. The journey had been long, the battles many, the sacrifices deep. She hadn't returned for recognition. She came back because the hospital needed her leadership. And because she refused to let people like Victor become the face of medicine. Sitting at her desk, she reviewed the schedule, noting Victor's name on several procedures. She tapped her pen against her notebook. His arrogance was not new, but now it was her responsibility to address it, not as a nurse, not as a former colleague, but as his superior. At noon sharp, the surgical department gathered in the auditorium for the official announcement of the new chief of surgery. Victor leaned back in his chair, legs crossed confidently, whispering to another surgeon that he hoped the new chief wasn't another diversity hire who couldn't handle pressure. The moment the doors opened, his smirk widened, until he saw who walked in. Maya entered with quiet authority, dressed in a tailored black suit, her posture commanding, her presence impossible to ignore. For a heartbeat, the room fell silent. Victor sat upright so quickly his chair squeaked. "No way," he muttered under his breath. He looked like a man watching his own fate walk toward him. The hospital director stepped forward. "Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce our new chief of surgery." He gestured to Maya, a world-renowned humanitarian surgeon, a leader in trauma innovation, and one of the finest medical professionals this institution has ever known. Maya took the podium. Her voice was calm, controlled, precise in the way her hands were during surgery. "Thank you. I'm grateful to be back. I know this department has faced challenges, and I intend to fix them with discipline, fairness, and respect. But before we talk about progress, let's talk about culture. Because skill without humanity destroys more than it heals." Victor's face drained of color. She continued, "This morning, I had an encounter in the OR. An encounter where professionalism was abandoned. Where prejudice was displayed openly. Where a nurse, someone believed to be inferior, was told to get out." She let the silence sharpen. "For those unaware, that nurse was me." A ripple of shock swept through the room. Victor's throat tightened. Maya's gaze locked onto his. "From this day forward, disrespect, toward anyone, will not be tolerated. Not by me. Not in this department. Not in this hospital." Victor shrank in his seat. After the meeting, Maya walked to her office, knowing Victor would follow. He did, hesitant, stiff, unsure whether to knock or flee. She opened the door before he raised his hand. "Come in, Dr. Hall." He stepped inside, guilt twisting his features. "I had no idea. If I had known." Maya cut him off softly but firmly. "If you had known I was the chief of surgery, you would have treated me differently. That is the problem." He swallowed hard. She continued, "Your issue is not with competence. It's with ego. With bias. With the belief that your title gives you the right to belittle others." Victor opened his mouth, closed it, then finally whispered, "I was wrong." Maya nodded. "Yes. You were." She let the words settle before adding, "But I believe in redemption. And I believe good surgeons can learn. So here is your choice." She handed him a folder. He opened it. Mandatory sensitivity training. Professional conduct probation. Peer evaluations. Direct mentorship. Under her. "You can accept this," she said, "and grow into the kind of leader patients deserve. Or you can resign." Victor's eyes flicked over the documents. "I'll do it," he whispered. "I want to be better." Maya studied him a long moment. "Good," she finally said. "Then your training begins now." As Victor left her office, Humbled, shaken, but changed, Maya returned to her desk. She exhaled softly. The department would heal. Slowly. Strongly. Because she had returned not just to lead, but to rebuild. And no amount of prejudice could stop a woman who had already mastered both scalpel and strength.